Hi there. Today on this James the Bike Guy, we're taking a look at the Farley Aluminum Frameset. This is a fat bike from Trek. Trek has done 2 generations of this, and this is the newest of the frame. It came out last year. And this frame is available either in carbon or aluminum. Right now we're taking a look at the aluminum version of the frame, and let's go ahead and point out a few pretty cool details. So the first is going to be that this uses what Trek calls their E2 tapered head tube. So it's 1 1/8 up top and then 1.5 down below, which allows for a stiffer front end, larger bearing, and then more surface for welding. The frame does run a few of the parts internally. So you've got some internal cable routing, as well as some external brazons for it too. So that does mean that you get some really clean cable routing on the bike. You run your rear derailleur internal, then it drops out just below the bottom bracket and goes back towards the rear dropout. And then, things like your dropper routing, the dropper post is internal, then it comes right out here, so you can route the dropper post right up to the handlebar. Now, the other neat thing that's involved on this bike is that it runs a through axle rear end, but this is what they call their Stranglehold through axle. So let's get this up pretty close, and you can see that what it is basically the rear axle can be slid forward and backwards, and that allows the frame to be able to accommodate a bunch of different tire sizes. So that range goes from 26 and 27.5 tires, but the max tire clearance on this bike actually goes from 26 by 5 to as big as 27.5 by 4.5. The other neat thing is if you have a wheel set laced up, you can run this bike 29er or 29 plus. So kind of get more season out of the bike for sure. Now the rear axle spacing itself is 197 through, so that is the wider spacing. But because of these incredibly short or thin, chain stays here, you can actually run this bike with the 170 spaced crankset. So that's a pretty neat thing. So your Q factor, or the width of the cranks, doesn't get too messed up. And then of course on the front end, on the seat post, you've got a 31.6 seat post diameter. It does have cable routing for a front derailleur here, though I'm not sure too many people will use it. But let's go ahead and take a look, see what this aluminum frame set weighs. Now, keep in mind, I do have a bottom bracket still in here. The typical bottom bracket like this, I've got one right here. If we toss it on the scale, 83 grams, so 81, somewhere in there, it's about 80 grams. So let's go ahead and put this onto our scale, and we'll see what the frame set weighs. So you're talking about 2,236 grams for the frame. That does include the dropouts. It does include the seat post clamp, as well as that bottom bracket like we're talking about. So imagine you might be taking about 80-ish grams off of this. So think about 2,150, including the rear through axle. That's really not bad for a super nice high clearance aluminum frame, especially for this fat bike here. So let's put the frame aside, and then we'll take a look at the fork. So the fork itself is 150 by 15, so 15 millimeter through axle. It is 150, just like say a Bluto or the Manitou fat bike fork. And what that allows is, in the future, if you wanted to throw on a suspension fork on this frame, you can, because the fork is already suspension corrected, so it's not going to throw off the geometry. Now, if you were buying this Haru fat bike fork on its own, it would come with the OCLV carbon lowers just like this one, but it would have a carbon steer tube. Now on these factory forks with the frame, they do a little bit of cost savings by throwing on this aluminum steer tube. It's not too bad, but it will add a little more cost or a little more weight than what you might see if you buy the Haru fork straight from your Trek dealer. This also has the through axle included, so let's go ahead and see what it weighs. So if we weigh the fork, it comes out to 767 grams. So overall, especially considering these parts from Trek, or this frame set from Trek, is pretty affordable compared to some of the aluminum or even other brand options out there. I'd say this is pretty great, not too bad on weight, and definitely will ride well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this James the Bike Guy. To subscribe for more, go ahead and give a click to the scale in the center, and remember to like the videos and comment below to let me know what you think.